Hi, this is Dr. Mercola. I want to thank you for taking the COVID risk assessment. Unfortunately, your results suggest that you're an above average risk. That's the bad news. The good news is you likely don't have the disease now, and there are many simple strategies that are virtually free that you can implement that will lower your risk to below average. So for those of you who don't know, I'm a board certified family physician and treated tens of thousands of patients before I started a website, Mercola.com, which has been the most visited natural health site on the web for the last 18 years. And my focus and passion has been teaching people how to take control of their health with simple, inexpensive strategies, mostly lifestyle changes, which are the foundation. And interestingly, the narrative of the mainstream media and most physicians on approaching COVID-19 seems to focus on the fact that there's nothing you can do to improve and enhance your immune system, which is just not true. And the reliance is instead on these expensive antiviral strategies like remdesivir, which has cost $4,000 for a course of treatment, and more concerningly, the vaccine program, which is being implemented under Operation Warp Speed, which means they've essentially abandoned any methods of safely testing this vaccine because they wanted it to be available in the fall. So that is a problem. And I and many other physicians are of the belief that there are simple things that you can do. Now, there's a summary of the specific recommendations based on the answers that you provided that could help you immediately. And for a more expanded understanding of that, you have two options. One is to download the condensed report, which is probably the best option for most. It's 11 pages. Easy to read and understand. It explains why these interventions are so helpful for you. The primary intervention is, of course, going to be vitamin D, and you don't have to take a pill. If you live in an environment where you have significant sun exposure, all you need to go out is around solar noon and expose a significant amount of your skin, and that's enough for your body to naturally make vitamin D. So no pills, this is free, and it will optimize your vitamin D levels. And the other thing is making sure you're metabolically flexible. And probably the simple, most powerful way to do that is make sure you're the right body weight. Now, that's not the only variable or factor that contributes to metabolic inflexibility, but it's a good barometer, simple to do, and most people can follow that pretty easily. So we have very specific recommendations that are powerful, don't cost anything to do, and can help you achieve that metabolic flexibility to lower your risk for COVID-19. Now, additionally, we believe this is such an important project because there are so many people out there who don't know this information. And if you do, that's great. You need to spread the message. So we sought to develop a platform and a strategy to make it easy to share this information, to compel people to take the quiz. So you can send this quiz to your friends and family. That would be the first step, to spread the message around. But additionally, you can also, if you're involved in social media, we made it real easy for you to do that. There's a Facebook layover or image over that you can apply to your profile to get people increase the awareness of the simple strategies that can be done. And then we have a Facebook group page too, where you can actually get support and ask specific questions and dialogue with others who are interested in achieving this. And our primary target is really two groups. One are the elderly, because that is a really big risk factor that you have no control over. You're not going to be able to change how old you are. But the elderly, because of a wide variety of reasons, are a significantly increased risk because they have something called immunosenescence of the immune system. And that simply means that the immune system is damaged because of the years of exposure to increased free radicals from oxidative stress that they are activities that they're engaging in. So that can radically increase their risk for COVID-19. And then the other population would be individuals who have very darkly colored skin, because even if they're out in the sun, they're going to need to be out in the sun 3-4 times longer than a fair-skinned person to allow that enough ultraviolet B to come in to have their body create vitamin D. So and that they've had this their whole life, obviously. So invariably, it's like anywhere from 90 to 99% of those individuals are vitamin D deficient. It's bad enough that 80% of us are, but if you have a dark skin color, you're almost guaranteed to be vitamin D deficient unless you're taking a supplement. and share this message because it's simple. There's virtually no side effects. There's no downside. And the good thing is once you increase your body's resilience to this disease, you radically decrease your risk of almost every chronic degenerative disease. So in addition to optimizing your vitamin D levels, you can also improve your insulin receptor sensitivity. Why? Because 9 out of 10 Americans have something called insulin resistance. This is the ability, and when you have this, you're metabolically inflexible, and that limits your body's ability to seamlessly switch from burning carbohydrates to fat as a primary fuel. Most of us have lost this ability. 9 out of 10 of us have. And what does this result in? Well, typically you'll see people being overweight. And this is no surprise when 70% of Americans are overweight and 40% are obese. So that's only one symptom. Other metabolic symptoms would be diseases like diabetes, of course, and cancer, heart disease, and Alzheimer's, and many, many other inflammatory conditions. So this is a really important factor, and there are a number of simple strategies you can use to address this. And one of the most important ones is simply called time-restricted eating. It is a form, it seems to be just as effective as calorie restriction, but a lot easier to do. See, most of us are eating more than 12 hours a day, and some people are eating, the only time they're not eating is when they're sleeping. And even then, those people are getting up in the middle of the night and eating. That's prescription for metabolic disaster. So what you want to do is gradually start shifting the window that you're eating down to the point where you're getting a 6 or 8 hour window is the only time you're eating, and making sure that your last meal is at least 3 hours before you go to sleep. So another powerful strategy, even though it's not as common for us nowadays with this COVID pandemic, is stop eating at restaurants, specifically fast food restaurants, because they are loaded with industrially processed omega-6 vegetable oils. What are those types of oils? Well, specifically soybean oil, corn oil, canola oil. These are all genetically modified foods for the most part. There are some that are not, but almost all of these are. But when they're genetically modified, that means they're loaded with glyphosate and other toxins. And then other omega-6 oils like safflower and sunflower fall into the category of having really far too much of this omega-6 fatty acid called linoleic acid. Most of us are getting 10, 20, 30 times as much of this fat, which gets embedded into your cell membranes and causes metabolic habit, as we were 120 years ago. So you can easily limit this and shift your body to a more optimal level by stop eating at restaurants and don't use these oils at home. And you even have to be careful about olive oil and avocado oil, because although those are healthier oils, 80% of them are adulterated with other inferior oils, and you really want to be careful with that. So another strategy you can do is to make sure that you're exercising. It's really a powerful intervention to improve your overall health and certainly insulin resistance. There's a lot of different ways to do this, and we're not going to go into details now, but doesn't mean you have to hire a personal trainer. You can easily go online to YouTube, and there's so many different varieties out there. You just have to commit the time to do it regularly. And walking is a magnificent, marvelous exercise that it doesn't cost anything, and almost all of us can engage in it. The other thing I want you to be careful of too is making sure, and it doesn't necessarily make sense because you wouldn't connect it to, but if you're not sleeping well and you're not sleeping enough, long enough, then you are going to increase your risk of insulin resistance. Anyone who's sleeping less than 6 hours a day, your risk for diabetes goes through the roof, as does insulin resistance. So make sure you're getting at least 6, and that's the bare minimum. You ideally want 7 to 8 hours of sleep. And of course, you want to address and understand any anxiety components, because stress is an enormous impairment to the immune response. So these are all powerful strategies that you and your friends and family need. And I hope you'll appreciate these and share them with your friends. This campaign is so important. We have the power. We can create an army to spread this information far and wide. Share it with your friends and family. Challenge them to take this test. Stop COVID cold. And if you're watching this video and you haven't seen the test, all you need to do is go to stopcovidcold.com, and you can take the test yourself. It's an unbelievable, simple strategy to find out just how much at risk you are for developing this infection.